Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the X-Zone Broadcast Network's Southern Command Post in beautiful Vero Beach and Fellsmere, Florida. And it's great to be back with everybody discussing our passion, paranormal research and investigation. Got a great show for you tonight, folks. I've got one of the more popular, one of the better-known investigators in the state of Florida with us tonight, Terri Rohde. Terri is the co-founder, case manager, and lead investigator for ESP, otherwise known as Explorers of Spirit Phenomenon. She is a native of the state of Connecticut, moving to Florida in the early 1970s. She's a graduate of the University of South Florida and Nova Southeastern University, which I might add I'm an alumni of. Terri has been a librarian, teacher, and children's books author on haunted locations in Florida. Her contact with the spirit world began as a child and continues today. Terri also travels to different areas all over the United States to investigate sites of reported hauntings. Terri, welcome to Paranormal Stakeout.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you again. I know we've had the opportunity to spend some time together at different events throughout the state.
Yes, we have.
I'm just glad you're with us tonight. ESP, you guys started what, 2009, I guess?
Yes, 2009. We started, Dr. Head, John Head, he goes by Ken. We were sitting around one day and we had been doing a lot of events with other teams and going to a lot of places throughout the state. And, he said to me, I don't know why we don't just have our own team. And I said, well, I guess I never really thought about it. Sure, let's do it. So he lived in an area of Florida called El Conquistador. It was a subdivision in Bradenton. And he said to me, I know exactly what I want our team to be called. And I said, okay, what do you want it to be called? And he said, I want it to be called EPS. And I said, EPS? Well, what does that mean? And he said, EPS, like your sixth sense, EPS. And I said, do you mean ESP? And he goes, oh yeah, that's what I mean, ESP. And I said, well, I don't just want it to be ESP. It's got to stand for something. So at first we named it ELCON, Society of the Paranormal, because of the area of Bradenton that he lived in, which was El Conquistador. And conquistadors are explorers, and that's what we felt we were.
Okay.
And then later over the years, we kind of changed and migrated toward a name that we felt it really more expressed what we do, which was Explorers of Spirit Phenomena.
Well, first of all, what got you? I want to explore that actual comment myself as far as what you feel exploring this area is. But what got you involved into the world of paranormal research and investigation?
Well, I think it's twofold. First of all, I have always been very inquisitive. And my father passed when I was 8 years old. And that's very hard for a child to kind of wrap their head around. And I think I had a lot of questions about the whole what happens next and where did he go? And am I ever going to get to interact with him again? Or is he still going to be with me in some form or another? And as a child growing up, I just read everything I could find. And I remember watching on TV because, yes, we had TVs back then. I remember watching like Uri Geller, Ben Spoons, and thinking, wow, if he could do that, I could do that. Our mind is very, very powerful. And so I just started reading everything I could get my hands on. And then the older I grew, I started reading about, time periods like the Salem witch trials and everything I could kind of about the unknown. I remember, things that I thought all kids did. And I guess talking to some of my friends, even tonight, those of us that are involved in this field, I guess there are things we did as children, but maybe not things all children do. But I can remember having little seances with my friends at slumber parties, and we would try to connect with famous people like Abraham Lincoln. And I remember doing, light as a feather, stiff as a board, and trying to lift each other up and trying to focus and connect. gift. And I do remember, I had a Ouija board as a child, and I can remember trying that. And I remember reading tarot cards as, an early, maybe 12-year-old. I actually remember reading them in high school for a dance, a Halloween dance. They said, "Does anybody know how to read tarot cards?" And I'm like, "Oh, I do."
Well, so essentially, it was just this interest as a child. When did you have your first experience that set you really off into this direction? I mean, you spent a lot of time, Terri, in the field and and traveling across the U.S. Was there a particular event that really focused you in on this field of research?
Like I said, I've always been interested. And, my partner, Tracy, she can point to that, pretty much that exact moment. I mean, she saw an apparition as a young child. And then Doc, as we know him, our other team member, he also saw an apparition when he was about 19 or 20. And that was kind of what, hooked him, I guess you would say. For me, I never had that particular experience as a child, though I did have a lot of reoccurring dreams. I did have a lot of deja vu moments. I did have a lot of just feelings, I guess you would say, more sense that, I've been here before. I have a connection with the spirit world. My great-grandmother, my grandmother and my great-grandmother were both in the carnies. They were circus people. And my great-grandmother read tarot cards and tea leaves. And I can remember going to her house as a child and her giving me her little book on palm reading. Now, not mostly what most grandparents would give their young grandchild, but I just remember that was very compelling to me. And I was very interested and wanted to do that too. And I can remember a time when I was a teenager working in a restaurant as a waitress, and I was waiting on this lady, and she grabbed my hands, and I was maybe 16 years old, and she looked into my eyes, and it was the most deep, compelling stare, and she said to me, "You're very connected to the spirit world. You know that, right?" And she was a palm reader, and it was just something she felt. And ever since then, it's just weird. Everywhere that I'm at, it seems like, the first time I met Annie, she told me that. She's like, "Oh, you're so protected." And
do you feel you're a sensitive? Do you feel
yes, I am, and I have not explored that area enough yet. Like I know that I have abilities. I have not really honed them. I haven't worked with them enough. I haven't done enough. But I feel that it's there, and other people my whole life have been telling me that it's there. So for a while, I closed myself off because back when I was first teaching, and so we're talking 25 years ago, I was having a lot of dreams about people that I worked with, about events, about things. And when I would come in to tell people, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I had the funniest dream about you last night."
And they didn't really want to hear that.
Yeah, they didn't really want to hear it. And it had a lot of truth in it. And then people started saying to me, "Don't dream about me," and I did. I kind of closed myself off. So over the last few years, I've been kind of going through a process, and so has Tracy, where we've been trying to open ourselves back up again. And it's definitely a process.
Well, you've got this team, ESP.
Yeah.
What's your credo? What is your mission, shall we say?
I guess if I had to put a mission statement into one sentence, it has always been to me bridging the gap between the spirit world and the living world. And if I could have a goal or a hope, would be that we can make that gap smaller and smaller and kind of bring those worlds together more and more, because they are together and they're connected. And I believe that we exist in both of them. So,
Okay.
just kind of bridging the gap and making the connections.
So
better.
So you're talking about almost dimensions type of
Yeah.
theory of,
Yeah.
because that seems to be, there are so many of us out there that have different philosophies, different reasons
Right.
why we got into this field.
Right.
But one of the prevailing ones now that I'm starting to see are folks looking at not so much this being a spiritual thing, but a dimensional thing. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm hearing a lot of that too, and it does kind of make sense on one plane or another. But I guess from a young child in school, I loved school, so I just loved it. I just never wanted to be out of school. I guess that's why I became a teacher. But I remember learning about energy, and I remember, the simple law that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And we are made of energy. And if energy cannot be created or destroyed, then where does our energy go when we are no longer here on this plane? And I am a strong believer that pieces of us, of our energy,
I'll tell you what, Terri, I'm going to put you on hold here for just a second because we're about ready to take our first break. And I want to get back into that because I want to understand your philosophy and the philosophy of ESP overall, because there's so many different groups out there with so many different thoughts and directions.
That's
so,
true.
Folks, stay with us. You're listening to the Paranormal Stakeout Radio Show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and we'll be back right after these short messages.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Gwilda Wiyaka's latest book, The Science of Magic, Book of Mysteries, Volume 1, is the first book in a series based on her writings that open every episode of the Science of Magic radio show. Drawing on the subject matter of each guest, and armed with over 40 years' experience in shamanism, 35 years in alternative health, and degrees in psychology and religious studies, Gwilda introduces relevant and leading-edge information that supports spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Rich with wisdom and inspirational quotes packaged in digestible segments, this is a book that will pull you from cover to cover. It will also serve as a daily inspirational reading for years to come. The Science of Magic Book of Mysteries, Volume 1 is available at our website, tsompublications.com, amazon.com, and wherever fine books are sold. Back in Victorian England, a famous theologian posed a perplexing riddle. Why are the two top personalities in the Bible tagged with the numbers 7 and 11? Academics agree the answer is found in the stunning discovery of a hitherto secret Bible structure explained in a new book called The Genesis Grid. The discovery is so simple that preschool children could illustrate it. Certain claims are hugely controversial and may offend some, but at the X-Zone, we've studied this awesome new book and agree with one expert, and I quote, "These discoveries appear to be beyond coincidence." So who or what hid this wonderful pattern in the Bible, and what might they do next? Find out more, X-Zone Nation, and read reviews on www.genesisgrid.co.uk. That's www.genesisgrid.co.uk.
And welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm Larry Lawson, your host, and I'm with Terri Rohde tonight. the co-founder and case manager and lead investigator for Explorers of Spirit Phenomenon, also known as ESP. Terri, just before the break, we were kind of talking about your group's philosophy, and one thing that I'm finding as I talk to folks all over the country, and in fact, different parts of the world about their work in the field, so many of us have different views and feelings and philosophies on it. If you had to sum up ESP's philosophy on this field, well, go ahead and say again what it would be.
So we have always said that we really want to bridge the gap. We want to bridge the gap between the living world and the spirit world. And I think that if we could do that, if we could really work on the communication, the connections.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean by bridging the gap? I guess that's kind of where
I feel like our energy is always here. It's always like wherever, like let's say it's a bricklayer. A bricklayer builds a house. Mm-hmm. And he literally builds it by hand, and he places those bricks, and he puts that mortar in between them, and he stacks them, and he builds that house. Mm-hmm. He spent a lot of his energy building that house.
Right.
I believe that some of his energy is kind of always there with that house, or in that house, or in those bricks, or with that. And that, you know, everything that we do in this life, and everything that we, I don't know, every person that we touch, everything that we touch, every place that we are, we might leave some of our energy there as well. And when we're no longer on this earth, I still believe that our energy still exists. Where does our energy go? Because you can't create energy. You can't destroy energy.
Right.
So our energy is still here. But how can you, like we have had, you know, all of us in this field, I'm sure, have had experiences to where we've been at a place and we've gotten kind of a residual energy there from maybe an event that took place years before, or something that happened. We will hear a party going on, or we will hear music, or we will hear talking or conversations, but they're not talking to us. It's just energy or an imprint, like a psychic imprint of what's been left behind there. But then other times we're at a place and we actually feel that we are making actual intelligent communication with
intelligent
something.
Versus residual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
so
go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't know. I just feel that some people are so scared, I think it is, or they don't want to look into the area of that. And I think this makes it not scary.
I agree.
It's not scary.
But what I'm trying to figure here is it sounds like, even though I would describe it differently, perhaps our philosophies aren't so different, but I'm trying to get, when you say bridging the gap, are you trying to bring the
I want communication to become easier and to become more prevalent.
Why?
I think that there is so much to learn. And I guess I'm a learner at heart because I'm a teacher, and therefore I'm a learner. And I think all of us, probably on some form or another, have questions, obviously, about what happens. What happens when we die? What is it like?
Well, that's the age-old question. I mean, I think that's one of the oldest questions in mankind. What is there afterwards? A lot of us feel, I know that my philosophy is, I want to find the answers, and wherever wherever those answers take me. See, I'm looking at it as a cop. I'm looking for evidence, and wherever the evidence takes is where I go. But that evidence might not take us where we had hoped or thought we would go.
That's very true. And, but that's okay too.
All right.
Because it's the exploration. It's the investigation. Like you said, as a cop, you still want answers. It doesn't, like you said, you might not get the answers you thought you were going to get, or maybe the answers you wanted to get, but you still feel compelled to go down that road, to learn, to experience, to investigate.
So is bridging the gap, as you say, more along the lines of filling in this big question mark rather than opening up? Okay,
yes.
All right, I can
filling
accept
in
that.
this big question mark, and getting some of those answers, and whatever they may be, and learn whatever they want us to know, whatever we need to know, whatever we can find out.
What do you think a ghost is? What do you think this phenomenon? Is it a dimension? Is it the spirit of those that have passed? Is it a parallel universe crossing over? What do you think it is?
Obviously, if I knew the answers, maybe.
Okay. Nobody knows the answers.
Nobody
All
knows
we can do
the
is
answers.
speculate.
Exactly. And,
Okay.
maybe it's all of the above.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
but all I can do is ask and try to find.
okay. Well, you're an author too, correct?
Yes,
Teacher
I am.
and another. What grades do you teach, if you can share?
I used to teach 4th and 5th grade predominantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved into becoming a media specialist, so a librarian for those people that, that's kind of more the lay term, I guess you would say.
Sure.
And now I work with middle school students, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And
the toughest job in America today is doing what you're doing. So my hat's off to you. My compliments to you. Thank you for what you do to help make our kids better. But being a teacher and an author, you've written some books, I understand, on children.
Yes, I've written several books. I've only published one to date. I've got a lot of others that I would like to publish. My first book started out, more picture books, and they were for children, always children. I write for children. And at first they were just more things that I would see with kids in my class, things that were prevalent in today's society. And then the more I got into this spiritual journey, I guess you would say, the more I started realizing that, there needs to be more out there for kids because they can't get enough of it. I started seeing it in my elementary school students. They were reading, and Tracy feels the same way at her school.
And Tracy is your team's production manager?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. And she's a teacher, librarian as well. And she works with elementary school kids. And they cannot get enough of anything haunted, spooky, scary, and they beg her for it. And it's like they have this hunger to just read all that. And what we want too is for them not to be scared of it. So even though some of them like to be scared, like they're like, oh, do you have anything scary? But also children seem to be so open to the spirit world. And so how do
the parents feel about it, though? What kind of feedback do you get from parents?
Well, that's so funny. We were just talking about that. As of yet, knock on wood, neither of us have gotten any horrible, hateful phone calls from any parents.
Okay.
But I don't know what their parents say when they bring home the books that they check out, but they're in every library. Oh, Tracy says she does know. She's yelling me from across the room.
Laugh and say, oh, yeah, my daughter tells me you're a ghost town.
Oh.
So generally...
Tracy, Tracy's telling me that she's had a parent come into her and say, hey, my child tells me that you're a ghost hunter. And she thought it was a joke. She thought that her kid was like telling her, a little story.
But have you ever received any feedback, like, why are you writing books exposing our children to this
not
type
yet.
of nothing like that?
No, and I think it's because, and the book that I have out right now is about the May Stringer house in Brooksville, Florida. a beautiful old Victorian home that is currently a museum, and it has a lot of spirit activity, but it's not scary spirit activity. It's not what you see on TV. It's not demons and
right. Oh, but how do you couch this for children? I guess I'm kind of clueless as to how you make this child friendly.
Well, the way you make it child friendly, I think, is to focus on the history, because there's a lot of history there, and I'm a history buff, and I love the history.
Gotta love history.
So you take some history and you bring it to a level that they can get it, they can understand it, and they can read about it. And then you just kind of mix in, you know, it's kind of like cooking, you splatter with a little bit of spirit. And so my book is predominantly the history of the home and mixed with some things that we have found as far as, what, kind of communication, we have heard.
And I got to cut you again. We're about ready to go to our next break.
Okay.
So we're going to pick this up in just a couple minutes. Folks, you are listening to Paranormal Stakeout on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And we'll be back in just a couple seconds to finish this great conversation. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond. You're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Channel.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
And welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout, everyone. My guest tonight, Terri Rohde of ESP Explorers of Spirit Phenomenon down here in Florida. And Terri, we were talking about the works that you've done with books and kind of introducing kids to the world of paranormal research. So your books are essentially about places and the history of it mixed in with the little ghost stories. No reoccurring theme or anything like that, I guess?
No, my biggest thing is and I started out with Florida because obviously that's where we're from and that's where my investigating began. Mm-hmm. So there are so many wonderful places in Florida that are historic and presumed haunted. And I want my books to entice people to visit these places, not maybe so much because, they want to be scared, but because the history is so rich, And so the places that I've chosen, the book series is called Florida Frights because I thought that was a cute little name. And the first book, like I said, is May Stringer House in Brooksville, Florida. I have also written a book on Curse City, which is a haunted ghost town in the Ocala National Forest. It is an amazing place with some really awesome old Florida history, from back with the citrus groves and the freeze and an abandoned ghost town, basically, a town that, kind of saw its rise and fall, I guess you would say. And it is an amazing place. And it's kind of like when people do these books on kind of trekking the backwoods and these little known spots that you just don't want to miss, these little hidden gems. That's kind of how I feel. I'm not doing the places that everybody knows about, okay? It's like everybody knows the lighthouse in St. Augustine.
Oh, that's
that's
cool
like
place.
A place, it's an amazing place. But that's a place that people are going to visit anyways. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
I was kind of looking to draw attention to kind of those lesser known spots, those little hidden gems that we have in this state, and every state has them. But obviously, since we live here in Florida and since I have
take them for granted, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We really do. And so that's why I thought, there's so many of these really neat little gems. And one of my other books is on Arcadia, which is the little town in kind of the, on the way from you to me, on the way from me to you. And they have a really neat opera house there that was an original opera house and is now an antique store, and actually had some unfortunate injuries, I guess you would say, from Irma recently.
Okay.
So I haven't been back.
Irma's a hurricane, the hurricane that hit us, by the way.
Yes, Irma was our bad little hurricane recently. So.
Well, I got to tell you, Terri, I really appreciate this approach because I'm sure I don't have to tell you, but to be a good paranormal investigator, you must love history, and you must.
I agree.
You must love the history of the area that you're in, and there's so much in Florida, so much in these areas, these spots that you're talking about that so many people don't know about. Our little town of Fellsmere, people don't realize. You've been there. The history there is unbelievable, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of us, I can really just speak for myself, want to bring this type of knowledge to folks. What our history down in Florida has to offer. So I really appreciate where you're coming from on that. That's
most people, they think of Florida, and what do they think of? They think of Disney World, Mickey, or they think of Miami. Or they might think of St. Augustine, but that's those are the big hot spots that they think of. And when they think of, even history, they probably focus right on St. Augustine. And I love St. Augustine, don't get me wrong. But like if I was going to, bring people to bring their attention, I guess you would say, to St. Augustine, then I'd want to focus. Obviously, the fort is amazing. But I'd also want to focus on those little known places like Larry and Denise's little place, which is an antique store now, but was the original jail in that town. And a lot of people don't even know that. I mean, it was like the county lockup, like the little tiny small, this is where we're going to bring you for public intoxication type thing.
Okay.
And so you can actually still see jail bars on one of the upper windows that was uncovered. So those are things that people wouldn't necessarily know. And so that's the history that I want them to learn. Yeah.
Love it. Well, and speaking of that, one of the things that really fascinates me about you and what you do is you spend a lot of time traveling to different places, don't you?
Yes, we love to travel. All of us are voracious travelers. We can't get enough of it. If we had an unlimited supply of money, but that's why we all work.
Have grown-up jobs.
2 jobs, yeah. We all have our day jobs and sometimes our day and night jobs. But if we could, that's what we love to do. And since Tracy and I being teachers, the time that's easiest for us to travel is summers, obviously. Yep. And Doc, being a doctor, he needs the slow season, and the slow season for him is also summers.
A doctor, is it a medical doctor?
He is. He's a medical doctor. He was an ER physician for many years, and then he opened his own private practice. So he runs his own clinic, and during the winter months, which we're in now, it is so incredibly busy because all the Northerners are here, and it's really hard for him to get away. So for us to all travel together. I have some friends from Canada
that come down on occasion.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Yes. Yes.
So tell me about some of these places you go, Terri.
I mean, pretty much as far as paranormal enthusiasts go, if you think of a place that's on your bucket list, it's either a place that we've been to or we have plans to go to. But we have been to some amazing places, and we have been so blessed to be invited to some places that weren't even on our list when we started our trip. Like last summer, for example, we had a couple places that we had planned to go. We needed to end up on Long Island because we had a friend of a friend who wanted us to come and investigate their home. So it was a private investigation. And on the way there, we just decided, let's stop here and there and, a few other places. And some of the towns we stopped in for nothing more than, hey, we've been driving for 4.5 hours, 6 hours maybe. It's a good time to stop and stay the night somewhere. And inevitably we'd go to a restaurant. We like to find historic places that have been made into restaurants or historic places to stay. And lo and behold, we'd go to eat somewhere and somebody, we'd be like, gee, this is a neat old building. I'm feeling energy here. Have you ever had any reports of hauntings? And then all of a sudden the people start to talk to you. And the next thing you know, we're doing an investigation that night. So
what is the most significant place in all your now you've traveled all across the country? Would you say coast to coast? Is that fair? Pretty much?
Pretty much. There's a lot of places we haven't done in the Pacific Northwest area. We still want to go out there, but that's kind of we've been mostly this side of the Mississippi, but we've done we've got somewhere we want to do.
Most significant spot with the best evidence. What'd you get? Where and what'd you get?
Most consistent evidence, I'm going to tell you right here in Brooksville, Florida. But other places that were absolutely amazing, St. Albans Sanatorium in Radford, Virginia. And there's a great book out about that place by Pat Bussard O'Keefe. And we are lucky enough to be in that book, chapter 11. She gave each team that she chose their own chapter. And she chose teams that had investigated a lot of hours in St. Albans. And we've probably been there, I don't know, seven times.
What have you seen? What have you got? Tell me your most significant piece of evidence.
At St. Albans, me personally, my best evidence has been in the form of EVPs. I have gotten my name. I have been in a room where we heard with our own ears, just like in your little town of Fellsmere, I got to hear with my own ears some amazing laughter in the Fellsmere school. When I was in St. Albans, we heard a lady speak to us and say hi. And we heard it more than once. and she actually called out to us as we were leaving, because she thought we were just leaving at the time to go use the bathroom, which when we first started investigating St. Albans, they didn't have indoor plumbing. So they were working on that. So we had to go outside to a portalet. So we were leaving, and I think she thought that we were leaving. And it was almost like it sounded playful, like don't go type thing. I've had a lot of EVPs there, but other members that I've investigated with there have also seen full body apparitions. We have had really good luck there with music, using period music, and getting a lot of interaction, I guess, with our equipment while we were using music. I think a lot of there's that place houses tragedy in a lot of different ways. It was a boys' school. There was a lot of abuse there, by the students to other students, and also by staff members, I guess you would say. And then it was a sanatorium, so obviously the people that were there were in differing states.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the school up in Tallahassee, the boys' school up there? Have you had an opportunity?
No, but now that's going to be on my bucket list.
Okay. Well,
we got a lot of great evidence at Rolling Hills when we were in New York. We had some great evidence this summer at the Hinsdale House in New York and the Bel Air House. I want to hear
a little bit more about that in just a second, because we're about ready to take our next break. And you're listening to Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Terri Rohde, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And we'll be right back after this last break, folks, so stay with us.
Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com. The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multifamily dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
And welcome back, folks, to this edition of Paranormal Stakeout. I'm Larry Lawson, your host, and tonight we got with us Terri Rohde. She's the co-founder and case manager and lead investigator for Explorers of Spirit Phenomenon out of Bradenton, Florida. You can find more about her and her team at ESPEXPLORERS. That's ESPExplorers.com. You can also find out a little bit more about me at www.paranormalstakeout.com. So I'd invite you to check out my website there. You can also find more about me at www.paranormalfbi.com. I'd like also to invite you to check out all the great programming on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Just go to www.xzbn.net and check out all the terrific programs on there. Well, Terri, as we kind of wrap this up tonight, you ever been to Waverly Hills, by the way?
Actually, Waverly Hills is on our bucket list. We have not made it there yet, and we were actually planning a very soon trip there. We were hoping that maybe spring break of this year, one of our dear friends, Maria, moved to Kentucky, and we were hoping to go up there and see her. And while we were there, she's not too far from Waverly, so we were thinking, what a great time. She has a lot of haunted things in her town, too, that we want to explore and experience, but Waverly is definitely on our bucket list. This summer, we did West Virginia and Moundsville Penitentiary, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
But,
well, I want to turn this a little bit serious for a second, because one of the goals I have, one of the visions I have, is finding out how we can better do our job, so to speak.
Yes.
Where you talk about on your website that you're a paranormal research team. What is your vision? What is your view of that term research? What should we be doing as these?
Well, first of all, I think that we never should stop learning and trying new things. But in this field, which a lot of people want to say, want us to be, I guess, recognized more in the scientific field. But the problem is, and something that I don't think we, and that is a collective we, not necessarily you and I, but all of us in this field, something that we don't do well enough is work together.
Amen.
And, yes. And I feel like truly research. I mean, if you look in science at research, and being a teacher, we teach the scientific model, and we teach students how to research. And when you research, you conduct investigations, and other people conduct investigations, and then you compare your evidence from those investigations, and then you use that evidence to further your research, and then you go back and do more investigations. But unfortunately, in this field, there's a lot of people and teams that want to take whatever they've done and say, that's mine, that's my evidence, that's my research, and stay away from it. And that's totally, I don't feel, the direction we should be going. I think the direction that we need to be going is, look, I was at Fellsmere School, and at 9 o'clock at night in the kitchen, using this piece of equipment, it was raining outside, and here's what I got. And then you say, awesome. Well, let's see what happens when I go to Fellsmere School at 9 o'clock at night in the rain and use it, and so I think that we need to spend more time building on what each person does and trying to further what we're getting.
So
Yeah.
What I'm hearing though, Terri, is you're saying a more standardized approach, not necessarily a cookie cutter approach, but a more standardized approach, whereas we're all using the same general methods to investigate and then share the information and compare it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking is it's not even that we all need to use the same methods, but share whatever methods we're using so that other people can try to build on what you're learning. Okay. And the thing is, I think all of these wonderful locations that we are investigating and that we are experiencing, why aren't journals kept? I mean, I know journals are old-fashioned, but
no, I agree with you.
I would love to see, people going in and like sometimes you stay at an old bed and breakfast. And what's the first thing you do? They have a little journal on the nightstand and they say, hey, if you have any experiences, write them down. And then you read what other people
but see, that's
so awesome.
But that's standardization. See, when looking at it from my point of view, if I'm going to take, if the Los Angeles Police Department conducts a murder investigation, or Fellsmere PD does, we're using the same standards, the same methods. Right. Maybe the way I interview is different than the way the other guy interviews. But it's still a standard. And what's got me concerned is that we're doing so many different things. But we really can't compare our results because they're obtained differently.
Right.
But
we could if we knew. Like if you said, well, hey, Terri, I'm using the EDI meter and, this is the evidence I got using the EDI meter at, in this location at this time, in these, these things were happening and this is the evidence I got. Well, then I should, I'll take my EDI meter then and then let me go and see what I get. And then we can compare that. But you're right. If we don't use the same, you're right. You can't compare apples and oranges. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we get there then, Terri? How do you envision us getting there? What's the route?
Well, for one thing, respect. And I don't feel there's enough respect of investigators in this field. I mean, I feel like, teams unfortunately sometimes like to talk badly about other teams. Teams like to talk, they like to be like, oh, we're the best and they're, and that's just so stupid. I mean, we're all in this field, it's like, why can't we all just get along?
I agree with your comment because quite frankly, right now we're still dealing in theory. Our methods have not improved in years. No. Our technology has not improved in years, and our training has not improved in years.
No,
there's no, and that's where I think we need to go to really focus on finding the answers to this age-old question. That's my opinion on it.
And there are many, many brilliant people out there, and in our field of research. And so, and there's people every day that are trying to create and build and move, I guess you would say, our technology, our equipment, our method, our things forward. But then there's equally as many people that kind of, I feel, put like little stumbling blocks in their way. And,
what do we do to take away the, what do we do? What does Terri Rohde think we need to do to get rid of the stumbling blocks? I want to hear your opinion.
Well, my opinion, for one thing, is that our little group, because we used to be a bigger group, and now we're a nice little group, and I like that. But we work with anyone, and we enjoy working with everyone. We try to have very high standards as far as we do not talk badly about other groups. We do not get involved in the drama. I don't think any of that helps us. It makes the paranormal society, as you would call it, it makes us look not respectable. It makes us look like something that people, very unprofessional. And it's nothing like you as a police officer, you would not go out there and talk to, somebody about one of your partners. You wouldn't say, oh my gosh, don't listen to what Dan over there has to say, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, just because he's been, on the department for 20 years. I mean, you would never do that. You wouldn't put down another officer. You wouldn't put down another department or another investigator. But yet people in our field, they do that all the time. And that's just wrong. And so
we're lacking in training, and training doesn't necessarily always mean how to use this piece of equipment. Training is also a philosophy of building a camaraderie. That's law enforcement used to be like that. We used to be, well, this is my case and I'm not going to give you. But it's not like that anymore.
No.
And I really feel that the paranormal research field needs to change that. We need to get more progressive. If we're going to use equipment, let's improve the quality of it.
Yeah.
Let's improve. Let's research it and find out what we can do to make it more scientifically valuable. And so anyway, that's my soap.
No, and Larry, what I think is something that has always made me admire you and admire what you do is that I really feel, out of all the people that I've met, that you truly believe and truly walk the walk of trying to bring the paranormal society, per se, back to that and closer to that vision. Because when you first started your Paranormal Unity stuff over there, I was so excited to jump into that. And when you said, hey, do you guys want to come over? I'm like, absolutely, because this is what our field needs more of.
Well, and I appreciate that, and we're going to work towards that, and I'm going to invite you and all of our listeners out there. Let's all do this together. Let's find the answers. Let's research this, find the answers, and wherever it takes us, it takes us. Terri, it's been a real pleasure having you with us tonight. I really thank you for joining. And folks, stay with us for the next episode of Paranormal Stakeout when we meet again to continue our walk into the world of paranormal research. Take care, folks. See you on the other side.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com, or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.